at Qudrat, what we do is essentially we are upcycling agricultural waste of the paddy crop. Now, what part of the paddy crop? You have a straw, you have a husk, and inside that husk there is bran which is polished, and then you get the grain of rice. So we combine straw, husk, which are otherwise burnt, and bran, which is otherwise used as a cattle feed, and we upcycle this into disposable tableware.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm 26 years young, I would say that, and I went to boarding school in Nainital, got out after that, and then completed my plus two. Soon after that, I was studying CA, but I mean it's a great course to be in, but unfortunately failed after the first year, and I had to drop out because of that. So after that dropout, it came with a lot of its own baggage, that dropping out and seeing so many of my friends going all over the place to study. So we also have another business alongside. Before we started Qudrat, this is in 2016. We have this business where we are selling cars and bikes. So we have dealerships for various brands. We have a couple of these units in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. So I was given the task of managing that part. So 2016, my journey starts with selling these bikes, hardcore Royal Enfields, and it is a period where we were transitioning. Royal Enfield also as a brand was transitioning. There was a new brand retail identity that came in. So the whole transformation of it, and then taking off on the sales front. So it was a good experience for me overall. There were so many new skills that I developed during that time, and one great thing that happened to me over there was that my team became my best friends. It was Bareilly is like a tier, what would I say, tier 3 city probably. I mean, I don't want to call anything a tier 3 city, but it actually is.
Yeah.
And you don't have many like-minded people. At least at that point, I hadn't discovered many of them. So you tend to become closer to whom you spend a lot of time with, and those were our employees. So I spent a lot of time with them, but that is what really shaped me at that point of time. I think 16 to 17, 17 to 18, 18 to 19, 19 to 20. But during this period, I mean, it became a comfortable life. But, I just felt that, see, it's very easy to say that you want to find purpose and you want to find something that, you want to do that makes a difference. But actually being there and feeling it, okay, being running a business like that, I mean, it does bring you a great amount of financial power. It brings you good recognition, but there is something about you know industrialists, or I would say revolutionaries, who make a change in their own way and disrupt the whole system. So I used to read all these books, and then all I could do was admire those people and really not move on that. So I could only read about them, I could not be one of them. So I just started working in the back of my mind. I used to talk to my brother, my mother, my father. They were all very supportive, my parents also, that see, if you want to diversify, you are a third generation who has come into the business now. So fine, but figure out your stuff yourself. You have to be the one who has to go and find that what you want to do. So the good part was that I had the support of my family, and also the support of another business alongside, where I didn't have to care so much about the amount of money that was going to be poured in. So that was a plus that I got in a big way.
Right.
So keeping that factor in mind, right from 2018, I had a lot of love for the environment. In fact, my whole family does, and they are very pro environment, and pro gardening also, in a way, so that gardening has become environmentalism. But that gave us a lot of thought that the times to come, they are going to be there is a lot of work that is going to be happening around preservation of the planet. And in 16 17, I don't think sustainability was a big word back in that time. Sustainable has become a big word in the past 2 years, but at that time, sustainability, okay, we have heard about it, but nothing more. Now today it's a very renowned thing. So keeping that factor in mind, the first thing that came comes across is that there is a lot of solid trash lying around us. Can we do something about it? So we started, exploring technologies like, I think it is known as, even though I'm not a science student, some pyrolysis is what they call it. And then, from these plastics, you can extract some form of oil, which takes them back into their raw form. And this oil can be used as a light fuel in some of the generators or something like that. So I remember reaching out to so many people who were doing this, some people abroad and some people in India, very few people in India, in fact, and waiting to hear from them. Then finally, they got back to me. I want to go to Chennai to see their place, then another place in Mathura. But for some reason, it did not work out. Then in 18, again, I traveled to Shanghai with my father to go and research on biodegradable plastic. That, what is it that is happening over here? I had come across some film from Italy made out of tapioca starch. I don't know whether it was tapioca starch or what starch it was, but I was really impressed with the product. So we went all the way to China and China Plast is probably the best plastic fair in the world, one of the best. And once again, when we go there, I carried this material along with me to show to all the various exhibitors. So what we did understand was that, the word bioplastic, yes, I heard it for the first time over there. They showed us so many pellets and all of that. But the thing was that, it has some amount of added plastic still to it. So they said they don't have a solution where it is 100% green product. So there is going to be a trace of plastic. That is what is going to give it that water resistance and the tensile strength. So again, very disappointed. Got a lot of samples from there, filled up my bag, and I think extra baggage also I paid for. So, anyways, got a lot of stuff from there, and came back to India. Spoke to a few research institutions, deposited the material with them. That can you research on this? Where can I get it in India? This, that, this, that. Again, didn't work out. So again, I go back. What is the other industry you can see? So then there was something known as e-waste. Now, e-waste dismantling happens in a big way near Bareilly. So there's a place called Moradabad that is probably the e-waste dismantling capital of India. So probably the removal of everything happens in Delhi. I think I'm forgetting Daryaganj or some places there where it happens, and then from there it is taken to Moradabad, where the actual disintegration happens. So again, a very interesting business, and we should do something for the environment. And so many people are draining acid and this and that into the soil, but it again had its own set of challenges. It's a very informal industry, and the kind of people that are there in that industry is extremely, I mean, you cannot even imagine the kind of challenges that are there. And no proper formal way was there. We did hear about a few people, Karo Sambhav and one or two more of them we did hear of, but again, it slowed down. Nothing really worked out. Then finally, during the lockdown, I got this one opportunity where there is this gentleman who has this e-waste factory in Bangalore, and he's doing some form of refurbishing or something. He's selling it out. So I again got very excited that, let us buy this. He already has a facility, and everything is already there. He's doing so much of work, this, that. Only to realize that he was only refurbishing. So he was buying old computers, refurbishing them, and then, sort of selling that off. That is all he was doing. I thought that he was, disintegrating every material and sending it out. The lithium should go here, zinc should go here, but that also again wasn't happening. So once again, dejected, disappointed, whatever I would say. But finally, close to Bareilly, there is another friend of ours who runs a sugar factory. So, I mean, it was just that we were going to another unit of ours, and his place falls on the way. So, when we were there, he just sort of, we were again asking him that we also want to diversify, we want to do something new. So, he sort of told me that, Rishabh, have you heard about something known as a sugarcane bagasse, and people are making tableware out of it? So, I mean, I had heard about it, but now hearing it from somebody who's selling his own bagasse to those people, it was quite interesting. So he said, why don't you explore that? I mean, it's growing at a rapid pace, and people are, there's so much of huge demand for it, and that guy is doing exceptionally well. So I think he was talking about Yash Papers, and they have a brand called Chuck. So I think that is what he meant at that time. So I did not know much about it, but anyways, I went home and started checking and this and that. And this is a rule from day one that we have never done manufacturing before. So whatever unit has to come up, it has to be slightly smaller, and then you can expand slowly, because we didn't have the expertise. So that friend of ours also told us that it's comparatively it's a low capital investment compared to traditional industry. So again, I go and buy these Bagasse products and really start analyzing what's so this thing, and it seems nice and all of that. But again, uh, I check up about these people, then I find there are two more brands, then I find two more brands, then I find two. So there were a lot of people already doing Bagasse in the market. So I think to myself that how can I be different? And an Erica leaf is already there in the market. That is again very popular, but again hundreds of manufacturers for that. So I stumbled upon this research institution in Trivandrum, which is licensing commercial technology. So we got in touch with them and just asked them that we want to make disposable tableware out of agri waste. Do you have a technology? So they asked us to come for an online meeting. At that time, I think the coffee was still on. So they asked a little bit that can you just elaborate on what exactly you want to do. So we said disposable tableware, that Bagasse is already there in the market. So they said we have a set of around 7 or 8 raw materials, you choose which one you want to work with. And they said rather than us telling you, you go and find some material wherever you want to put the factory. For example, if you want to put it in Trivandrum, what will be easy for you to procure? So the first thing that came to my mind was, rice straw is burnt in North India. That will be the cheapest. I mean, people are burning it. We'll get it for free, and they will give us some money also to take it. So I started checking for rice straw. I went to a mill, went to farmers, went to farmers association, went met a couple of bureaucrats, this that, only to find that rice straw is quite expensive in South India. Now, why does that happen? To really understand, uh, unlike North India, South India does not have any winter crop. So the rice straw here, that is the only form of cattle feed that they have. In North India, wheat straw is far more nutritious, so that is what they use for their cattle. In South India, it's the same rice straw. And unlike North India, where you need to pull out the whole stump and sort of dispose it off, here you just sort of overturn it and sow the next batch of rice. So, keeping that factor in mind, you're not going to find rice straw in South India. In fact, now the Punjab government is talking to Kerala that they're going to ship rice straw from Punjab to Kerala under some scheme. I am forgetting the name. So, this was news to us, and I was completely zapped. So, again, disappointed and what to say, what not to say. So, what is our material then? So, Kerala has another material called it's a water weed by the name of hyacinth, water hyacinth. Uh, but again, when we started doing the trials for it, we were not able to crack the product at that point of time. It wasn't really forming well. So our technology CSIR partners, they told us, Rishabh, check for something else. So I go out again, I meet a mill manufacturer who's running a big mill, and so he mentions this product called rice husk to me. He says it's essentially used as boiler fuel. Why don't you try it out? So we go back with this, and it somehow worked. And rice husk is comparatively cheaper also. So we signed, I think, the technology on 30th of 29th of December 2020 is when we signed up. And I was so quite excited about that. And, I thought that if 29th I have signed on 1st of January, I'll talk to all the machinery manufacturers. And in another 10 days, I'll order all the machinery. 3 months, my plant should be up and running. Little did I realize that, what is given to you on paper versus what is actually going to be there, it's just like black and white, completely different. So one challenge after the other we started facing, uh, right from the technology that was given to us, the numbers just didn't add up. If you start doing the math at that point of time, in the excitement of everything, and not everything is revealed to you also, only when you get the project report later in your hand after you have paid that big amount of money, do you realize that It's almost only 20% that is given to you. And see, this is a problem with all technology transfers in India. Like the kind of quality that you get abroad, where everything is tried and tested, and you don't have to do any R&D after that. So if somebody tells you that you're going to get an output of 10 pieces in an hour, it is going to be that. Whereas in India, now what happened was the technology said that a plate should form in 30 seconds. But when we went to plant level, it formed in 600 seconds. So that is almost like a 20x variation. So when that happened for the first time in the plant, a lot of people told me it just doesn't make sense. Maybe, there's no point in burning more money. You've made a mistake, fine, sort of, let's get done with it. But anyways, we'll come to that part later. But just trying to show you how much of the difference is there. Then the second part is, again, working with a government institution. I mean, they are great institutions and they have a lot of knowledge in them, but at times, too much scientific analysis leads to paralysis. It's an old saying, but that actually happens there. And so many scientific brains where 20 people are debating amongst themselves. So you as a businessman get squashed up in the middle, and then you have to keep all the parties happy, take everybody's opinions into account, take all of their views. So I mean, it was quite a roller coaster journey, but now finally we have reached a stage where all is well that ends well. So I guess, yeah, that would be that. And there were a lot of times when I think it came to a situation where we felt that these would be the last few words said between all of us. And this thought really comes to your mind that I want to, you gave me a technology which said 30 seconds, I'm getting it in 600 seconds. The next thing I want to do is send you send you a legal notice after that. What the hell? So anyways, but I think there's a lot of good that comes out of all of these situations, and through these tough situations do you really understand to find a solution.
Yeah, and I think you know a lot of things came out of the conversations that we realized that because we talked to a lot of change makers there, and that's what they say. It's not easy. Sustainability in itself looks a business which is lucrative, but getting into all the operations and on field actually, because everything is so informal. You have to put in a lot of pieces together to make a strategy or vision work. But so Rishabh, like who all are with you when you say we in your team?
So essentially, see, I have one co-founder, that is my brother Rohan, and I would my parents are the main investors in the company, and I would also take them as co-founders to a great extent, although technically they wouldn't classify like to be called as co-founders. But I mean, they have also equally helped us in this project because their expertise, they've dealt with businesses throughout their life, their thought process towards a lot of things. And then last but not the least, I would like to say their belief in a project like this, where uh, I remember when we were sort of going in for ordering our machinery, we were trying to find machinery manufacturers. We met a couple of bagasse manufacturers also. So a few of them told my parents that, so why are you wasting your time? And we'll give you a machine that will give you output from day one. Maybe the kid has, basically one day maybe the kid has lost his mind, and he's trying to be innovative, but he's only going to end up digging a well underneath him. So don't make this mistake now. Probably better to go for something like that. But they believed in this thing. They had an instinct that no, we have to do something different. So hats off to them also. Other than that, Ketul, we also have team members, in the sense that when we were going to be putting up this project, obviously the CSIR NIST, we have a whole batch of scientists there, but there are two of them who are very dedicated towards our project and really come out with the research and all the technology and the manufacturing. But other than that, we also brought in three people from who are industry experts, worked in industries, somebody who specializes in energy consumption, somebody who specializes in machinery. So with their prior experience, even though they are consultants to us, we were able to solve a lot of problems related to, financial feasibility, related to the machine outputs, and that really helped us. Now, even though the output is not very great at this point of time, we would still call it a pilot scale level. But I don't think without their support I would have been able to do this. At that point of time, yes, when you do hire consultants in the first place, you do feel, it's a big amount of money that is going to be spent. But I think that, uh, if I look back at it, I wouldn't have been able to do it without their support. And last but not the least, I mean, the team that came in, whatever a small number of people that we have, four of them, who are working out there on the in the plant. Uh, Even though literature says a lot, chemistry, food chemistry says a lot, but I think what you do on the shop floor makes a sea of a difference. So, practically being there, once again, repeating and repeating, cleaning up all the machines once the material gets stuck, I think they all give a lot of sweat and blood to that. And I would really appreciate that also in the first place. So yes, it's a team where we are approximately 10 or 12 people, and that would better classify the we.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful to have kind of like family as a team also. I think that works out for a few people it does, but I always feel like that
So,
that
Rishabh,
gives a good
one thing
synergy.
I think I would like to add over there, since we spoke about family also. See, in that sense, even my sister, she is not involved with the business, and she is on her own, even her husband, but they're all very inquisitive to know at times. We are having these conversations, and they also give some brilliant suggestions that you can really inculcate in your project. Even though my parents, they are in the business, and they are we are still interacting on a daily basis, but I think we can all use advice from external sources also in life. So, and I think family plays a very important role there, not in all cases, but I think yes, they have contributed very heavily to that.
I think if sustainability is in place, I think having your family's input and suggestions, I personally believe it's must. And it's me and Ketul also a habit of like talking with our mother, although she is not from any such similar background. But yeah, I think they are the ones at the center of the house. So one aspect I wanted to understand more about is like how did this kind of tableware or the cutlery sort of like direction came in? Um, I understand you were exploring like multiple um, ideas or solutions, trying to find a market fit. How did that came into picture?
So, uh, again, I would say essentially capital investment. uh, we heard that, this is something that requires lesser amount of investment compared to other traditional waste oriented projects, and it seemed a little simpler to do. It didn't have collection of raw material from door to door house sourcing, or involvement of the government. Nothing like that was there, which would have been the case in case of solid waste recycling and manufacturing, sorry, solid waste segregation and recycling. So keeping that factor in mind, tableware became an easy choice.
And uh, you know, you have, I think, positioned Qudrat as a disposable item, right? But
Yeah.
can you elaborate more on like why you wanted to put that into a disposable category and not wanted to create a product that like probably sustain for a longer time?
So, keeping that factor in mind, like, when we were out there to solve this problem, we wanted to give a substitute for disposable with another disposable. So if you see the amount of waste that is generated from these disposable items in terms of plastic or paper, I mean, it's absolutely huge. And in terms of, like, I'll just take plates as an example. So I think the total addressable market value of plates at this point of time globally is around $4.8 billion. and approximately 30% comes from Asia, out of which another 10% comes from India. So, if you look at the global patterns in itself, disposable tableware is a huge market and it's just growing with time. I think approximately 6% is the rate, the CAGR that we see it growing at. So, in terms of really eradicating plastic and paper, we felt disposable tableware is a better point to target it at. And again, I think we also drew inspiration from the fact that there were already so many people doing disposable tableware substitutes in the market. So that also sort of pushed us for that. So I think it was not a very difficult choice to make. It just sort of came in.
Right. But when you look at markets like India, which are very price sensitive markets in general, you know, when we talk about a good quality plate, when I have Qudrat in mind, the next synonym that comes to me is sustainable quality. Okay. And and so did my friends, when I started sharing the plates with them. But for a plate to be on a higher end, the disposable, when you compared it to the market, I think Qudrat costs probably 20x more than what a disposable dish would cost. So, like, how would you position that in a disposable category market?
So, Ketul, firstly, I mean, I know you've felt and experienced the plate altogether, and I've heard some really good things coming from you about that. But on the other hand, see, we do realize that India is a price-sensitive market. So, if I'm not going to go into the B2B side of it, but I'll just take a fair comparison. So that 8-inch plate that you used, I think you purchased it for 30 rupees. That's right.
Correct.
Now, if you go onto Amazon and look at two more of our competitors, let's take Bagas and Ereka Leaf. And let's just take top sellers. I'm not going to, there are many forms of sellers, but something that is highly rated on Amazon. So a Bagas in the same size will cost you approximately 11 rupees, 10 to 11 rupees. And an Ereka Leaf will cost you around 21 to 22 in the same size. And we cost 30 rupees. Now, let's just compare Bagas with Qudrat. Okay, that Bagas manufacturer, he makes 25,000 pieces every day. We make 250 pieces every day. So, I mean, with scale, obviously we are going to come down. But see, you have to have some amount of patience. It's a new product. We are already trying to improvise on how, we are going to go from 250 to 2,500. I've identified a few manufacturers for that. They're going to be coming to our place and, really see what exactly is it that we want to implement. And then the next jump from 2,500 to 25,000. So once I'm going to reach that level, I'm sure maybe I am not able to bring it down to 11, but I'm sure I can kill the Ereka Leaf for sure, because he's only at 22. And I see, with whatever math we have with us and with whatever scale studies that we can see, probably around 13 to 14 rupees looks easily doable even with 2,500 pieces.
Yeah, that makes sense. Economy of scale is one thing that I think, if sustainability grows, probably that's going to bring a lot of cost to, for people to change into sustainable lifestyle. Currently, that cost to conversion is really high.
Yeah, so another thing, see, we often get this comparison now since we are talking about it. So somebody will tell me, Rishabh, yeah, a paper plate cost me, 1 or 2 rupees in the same size. Why should I, spend so much of money? Why is your product, rather than why should I spend so much of money? He said, why is your product so expensive? Why is it not, at this range? So my point to them is, see, if you talk about plastic and paper, you're talking about technologies of the 50s that have improvised over 70 years, and then you want to compare something that has come 2 years out of a laboratory with something like that. So I said, if you want to compare an apple with a pineapple, then it's, it just won't be the right comparison. So I say, just hold on. I mean, it doesn't have to take 70 years for it to come down, but you'll have to give us some time. Give us a year, give us a year and a half, but you have to be there during this period to support us, Because if nobody buys from you and you don't have the financial resources, that sustainable enterprise is going to die again. So during this period of time, you have to sort of help us. And now this is the best thing about EY. So they really understand this part, and they're going to buy from us at the rate that we dictate. So they don't mind spending that money, but it's essentially the fact that they want to handhold till the time we can get that scale. So it's a very clear vision with them. I know even every penny makes a difference for them too. But when a corporate says it this way, that we all know that this is scalable, but to get to scale also it will take you some time, and we want to handhold you for that period of time. So I think it's a win-win. If EY is going to take so many plates and cups from me, I mean, I'm more than happy.
Yeah, probably a very good start in terms of collaboration of philosophies. Like and I think sustainability is a field where people want to collaborate more on a scale, and compared to other industries where it's all about just fighting the war, because the industry itself is growing and there are so many, and as you said rightly, like the technology itself is not that up to the mark compared to the traditional ones. That there's a need for the market to collaborate for scale.
So in terms of scale, one more thing I would mention is the fact that, see, also why now it seems very evident to me that as human beings, if we get comfortable with something, we really don't like to get out of our comfort zone. Not applicable for everyone, but that's just natural human tendency. So for example, uh, you know a bagasse manufacturer, there's so much of change that can be made in that industry too. But once you start getting a fixed output out of something, you don't really want to take another push. You just want to keep multiplying on this factor. You don't really want to go and find more alternatives that can be that can really sort of improvise your product and build a much better product. So I think also going into that zone sort of stagnates you. And
Yeah.
if we were to put this in terms of, let's say, an automobile company basis, so for example, Tesla really took the lead on in terms of electric vehicles. Whereas when they were starting, there were so many bigger manufacturers who had all the resources, who had all the financial resources, the manpower resources, the technology resources, the R&D. But they did not really focus on that sector. Whereas Tesla, they went in all out, and people called them a fool at that point of time. That they're just dreaming of something that just won't happen. And today, I think he left everybody behind. I mean,
Yeah.
there are many reasons, but I think the brighter side of Tesla is that they are where they are. I mean, they have left most of them behind in the EV race. So yeah, probably sum it up with that in terms of scale.
Yeah. And I think like some somebody or something is paying cost. One of the founders told us this during the interview. Like, and I think that's something more people should be get aware about, because now it's not just like environment issues are not just uh something far away which doesn't like bother you. It has like literally serious impact on our economy
Yeah, I
and
think Bangalore also you had a problem, right?
too much. It's like like how did Bangalore become this is a question I have been asking myself. uh, yeah, so I think more and more such companies and scale is something that will eventually be cracked. More support is required. I think that was you rightly mentioned. Uh, yeah, and also so like Rishabh, like we have talked about Qudrat plate, right? But like the viewers haven't actually gotten to know what exactly the plate or the material is. Can you sort of like tell us more about it? Like why it is biodegradable, 100% biodegradable, or like you know uh, what
Yeah.
what what is the product exact about? Yeah.
So at Qudrat, what we do is essentially we are upcycling agricultural waste of the paddy crop. Now, what part of the paddy crop? You have a straw, you have a husk, and inside that husk there is bran which is polished, and then you get the grain of rice. So we combine straw, husk, which are now what part of the paddy crop? You have a straw, you have a husk, and inside that husk there is bran which is polished, and then you get the grain of rice. So we combine straw, husk which are otherwise burnt, and bran which is otherwise used as a cattle feed, and we upcycle this into disposable tableware. And slowly we are also doing R&D on a takeaway, 750 ml takeaway. So that is going to be there. A spoon is going to come in, then a smaller bowl is going to come in, and a smaller plate. So we have a few products in the pipeline. Now, other than biodegradability, also the fact that it's absolutely environment friendly. Now, what do I mean by that is that, see, if you look at a paper cup, uh, or if you look at your notebook, for example, the paper that is there, you pour water on it, you spill your water bottle on top of that, it just won't hold water. Water just passes through it. But on the other hand, if you're having your drink in the theater, the water is going to stay inside. Now, why does that stay inside the paper cup? There is a lining that is there inside. So that lining, when you pour hot coffee into it, it does disintegrate. You cannot see it with your naked eye, and that's the microplastic that goes inside you. So at Qudrat, what we did was we engineered the product using the raw materials chemical composition. So we used it in such a way and put it through certain processes that it naturally starts holding water up to only a period of 30 minutes approximately. So you don't have to worry about things like, whether you're pouring hot sambar or hot coffee into your cup or something like that, and you're ingesting microplastic. And microplastic is like absolutely real now. We hear about all of it in mother's milk and your placenta, and it's there all over. Then the other part that we really took care of was, usage for customer. We all have a problem using paper and bagasse plates because, more than balancing your, you have to really balance your food on the plate. So, if it is one idli, it's okay. But if it is 10 of them, you are gone and, something falls. So we wanted to make something that is going to be extremely rigid and strong. And also the fact that if you want to put it in the microwave or you want to put it in the freezer so that it can be, heated or cooled down quickly, that also has to exist. And then last but not the least, the fact that, the disposal of it should be easy. So whether you live in an apartment, you put it along with your kitchen waste, it's that simple. Or if you have some form of, kitchen garden, or, whatever pots are there on your balcony, you can just simply, sort of crush it and put it along with that as fertilizer. And if you have a backyard at home, I mean, it's absolutely backyard biodegradable, adds as fertilizer. We are also doing the fertilizer as well as the animal edibility studies, so that we can give some more we can give some amount of data to the customers on what the nutritional value of it is. So it makes it a lot easier. And yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention over here was that when we were engineering the product, we also, saw a lot of visuals of how animals are ingesting plastic. It's a big thing now. So when we keep that factor in mind, we wanted that if an animal sort of mistakenly consumes our product, there should be no harm done to the animal. So it was engineered in such a way that this waste, which is otherwise also used as animal feed in a lot of places, it should be consumable by animals, and they are very happy to eat it. They rather enjoy the taste of it. I mean, Ketul, that's another experiment you can do if you can find an animal nearby.
Yeah, one thing that we are definitely doing is putting that into our composting bin, and we're gonna do that experiment and record like how many days does it take and how was our experience in general.
Ah,
So I think that would be a fun activity to do. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and so who are your consumers? Who are actually buying Qudrat? Like, what do they look into the product, or what do they look into the company or the idea itself? What are you trying to sell to them?
So, you see, in terms of customers, I would classify it into two parts, the B2B and the B2C. Now, essentially on the B2B front, the biggest consumers of disposable plates in the country would be the events industry. Nor I don't know about the shapes and sizes, about how much the classification of that is. But yes, the events industry, the wedding industry in India is big, and they use it in a really big way. Then other than that, anything from a food aggregator to a railway to an airways, to an educational institution, even the mandirs that serve their prasad. I mean, there's disposable tableware that is there everywhere in some form or the other. Yes, the price points are different for all of them. I mean, the railways are using disposable plates in a big way, but again, it is that paper ka with the aluminum foil on top. So it is like competing against 1 rupee against 15 rupees. So keeping that factor in mind, I mean, there is a huge market out there, but again, probably that is something that can cater to with scale, unless we get some more niche customers, like for example EY or another corporate coming on board. In terms of B2B also, we look at the sector of sustainable weddings. There are many bigger weddings, bigger events that do want to use something more premium. So yes, that is a market that we are tapping into. We have done one wedding in Uttarakhand. November is still not over, and we are also doing another event, the Thai conference, on 3rd of December in Cochin. In terms of individual customers, now coming to the B2C side of it, what we've done is that we listed on Amazon. We are also doing Flipkart and two more sustainability aggregators from next month onward, in order to really observe that whether what kind of traffic goes on to these sustainability aggregators. Now, talking about the households and individuals, I mean, all of us, we host some form of a party, or whenever we have more guests coming into our house, disposable tableware is always much easier to use comparatively. I mean, we all have crockery sets, no doubt about that, but when the number exceeds a certain point, there has to be a usage of disposable tableware. But with our current listing on Amazon, we don't have Prime as yet. So that is another process that we are starting, because the lead time for anybody to procure all of this, it is a short time, and sending it all the way from Trivandrum. So even that will get integrated into the system from December onwards. So we see a good amount of scope. We see good feedback coming from our customers. But what we do hear from our customers, the feedback that we take is that Qudrat is not very visible at this point of time. So on that front, getting our digital marketing together, getting some very good visuals and some great content for Qudrat, that is the next leg of work that we really have to put in. And it's also one more point that comes up is that it's not really visible what Qudrat stands for. Maybe because it's just something that we've started with, but we need to do a lot more work on that front. And that is, I think, something that is going to really project Qudrat in a good way. So I think that is probably the lowest in our Maslow's hierarchy of needs right now. So I'll put it there.
Yeah, I think like plenty of opportunities of using disposable cutleries. Also, I heard you mention you can like put it in microwave also, right? Like for the heating purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it's still right now also the same thing? The plates I think we have gotten in the sample also has the same
Yeah.
proper.
Don't
Okay.
put it along with the film, huh?
No, 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 not like that. But yeah, so I think now that opens up another front, right? Like packaging, food packaging. Because if it's microwave safe, then I think it completes the entire cycle. I don't need to even I get the food into it, I eat it, and then it's just with the
Yeah,
food. That
absolutely.
goes.
You can,
That's
Shreyas.
amazing.
And the fact that it is made at 190 degrees Celsius, I mean, then
Hmm.
it's
Okay.
it's basically made at 190 degrees
Hmm.
Celsius. So, I mean, your microwave is, I think, only a 130, 140.
Yeah, true, true. Awesome. So, in terms of like uh, scaling, I think there is pretty much enough market in India, let alone outside of it. But how are you like sort of like looking at it? Because a lot of sustainability kind of factors get into question when any sort of like product or manufacturing has to scale, like so what are your thoughts, or like if you're already doing something or if you have plans around scaling it in a sustainable way?
So, Shreyas, when we started with this project, I mean, we also got the skepticism around, sustainability projects aren't easy to scale. And doing it commercially is a problem. So there was a lot of stigma around that, but you just keep going step by step. Now we've come to this stage where we are doing 250 numbers a day. Now we want to take this leap to 2500, and we I won't say 100% have figured out a way, but we know what direction we are heading in, who are the people that we need to bring on board, and it is possible to do that on a financially feasible way and bring down your variable costs, as well as fixed costs will naturally come down. So even with 2500 now, it started to make sense. So I think more than anything, it is about using adversity as an opportunity. And I've seen this with a lot of entrepreneurs. They back out right before they're about to break through. So that happens with a lot of them. They don't realize how close they were to success before they sort of backed out, and this happened in our case also. So I remember probably 2 months back. I have a good mentor and somebody who is a very famous industrialist, and globally, his industry in those terms, I mean, a market leader globally. So I remember having this conversation with him, and I had taken one of the first plates to show it to him that, see, it started forming now and it's good enough and all of that. So he sort of analyzed my plate and he said, Rishabh, there are cracks around the edges, that are very visible. So I said, so I mean, how does it matter? The functionality is still the same. And this is, you really have to go close and sort of look at it and all of that. So he says, see, I'll tell you something. This plate, no, if it has a crack in the center of it also, India is such a beautiful market that you will be able to sell this also. He says, but are you in to do that, or do you want to build the best biodegradable plate that has ever been built? So he says, you choose your line, whether you want to just build something to make money out of it, or you want to build something that tomorrow, if I get you a product from US, I get you another product from Japan, I bring you another product from Europe, and I tell you, Rishabh, I'm pitting you against all of these people. He says, you shouldn't have to think about it. You should say, sir, bring it on. I'm ready for anything. So he said, that is what really changed my thoughts. And thankfully, I took his advice very positively, and I went back to the scientific team, had a full fight with them that what the hell is happening. And that helped us in the long run. And today, if you ask me, I mean, I'll portray the plate as anything. It's a biodegradable. I mean, it's so good. It's a biodegradable frisbee in itself. So that is something that I would term it as. It's all it's water resistant, oil resistant, any form of resistance. I mean, and there was this joke I was telling Ketul that I was going to say it's bulletproof also at the pitch to the Russian investors. So I think he was the person who really pushed me that no, Rishabh, you have to make it in such a way that it becomes the best product that is out there. And Shes, on that point, I would also say that again, backing out, that is something that really makes a difference. See, I know you are going to have bad days. I know that everybody is going to tell you that it's impossible, but it's only impossible until it's done. So we must take that as a good takeaway. And once you start doing that, you start getting results, everybody will come back to you. Oh, I mean, how did you do it? This happened, that happened. So I think and not that sometimes our vision sort of leads us into very blurry places, and there are actual things that can't be done. But I think if you feel you have the grit, you have the determination, where you see that you can achieve results, pursue it, and something will work.
True. I think taking small steps with the integrity is the way to scale. So, yeah. And I think a lot of industrialization exposure, or even like, I think those are the people who have shaped a lot of things we use. So I think their advice and kind of insights are very powerful if we can
Yeah,
grab into it.
absolutely agree.
True, true, true. And apart from like Qudrat, you are making sustainable brand in itself, but what other, like, in your day-to-day life, do you practice something, or do you are trying to kind of uh, change some certain behaviors around like being more sustainable as a whole?
So, number one would be the fact that, how you're disposing the waste at your house. I mean, other than the fact that you're trying to reduce plastic in the greatest possible way, but also the way that you're disposing the waste at your house. And now we do see the fact that, recycling streams are coming in, waste has started having value. So, whether it's the plastic bottles in your house, whether it is any form of plastic that can be sold to a recycler, would prefer that in the first place. Whatever is your kitchen waste, whatever is your biodegradable waste, make sure you put it in the right pit at your house, and sort of try and make compost out of it. Engage a proper waste disposal system where you do have these services where people are coming to your houses and collecting waste, and they do it in a responsible way. So we do opt for such a service. And then lastly, in the greatest possible way, wherever you can reuse something, please try to do that in whatever way, whether it is in the form of the bags that you're carrying to the shopping market, whether it is giving an alternative life to newspaper, or I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but the kind of clothes that you buy, I mean, going in for a lot of fast fashion
Yeah.
is again extremely harmful. And don't unnecessarily, we all know how much of resources gets natural resources get drained into making each t-shirt or making each pair of pants. So yeah, these would be small things that I would sort of emphasize on. And yeah,
No, great.
last but not the least, BYOB, bring your own bottle. I think that's
Uh,
very important.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of small
Yeah.
things we ignore in day-to-day life, which actually matter a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing about, I think, sustainability is, you can probably learn it from anywhere and anyone. Knowingly or non-knowingly, we all practice sustainability in our lives. Like, probably the bottle is the biggest use case. And if we have to look at sustainability, I think we can look at our elders in more general. Because I remember my mom giving me water in steel bottles only in school. For her, I don't know if it meant sustainability, but it was sustainable, right? Like, I do not need to throw it up for every 6 months. But I just want to go back to the conversation when you spoke about, product should speak for yourself. It should speak about the brand. And for Qudrat, we felt it with the first impression, but it ignited us somewhere to gift it to our friends as well, because it was such a nice product. Now that also had for us, because we had a social, uh, social money, as to say, to talk about something having unique, sustainability, and to talk to more about a talking piece in general. And we spoke to one of the founders who are trying to recycle ceramics and make recyclable ceramic tableware or tatwa.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he said the same thing. We wanted to be talk of the table, and for them to start with tableware was that, that we wanted to be a talk of the table. So going forward, like, how are you planning to, or have you have any visions around forming a community, of users who are kind of into sustainability and want to engage with you more in general?
Ketul, 100%. I think that's the way forward. And in terms of getting more people who are already oriented to sustainability, that's a much better market for us. People who already understand, and you don't need to educate them about, why exactly a Qudrat plate is better than what you traditionally buy. So I think that is already here, and it's here to stay. On the other hand, I would also say that probably with the passing time, And with more and more awareness around sustainability, what is climate change, how does, how draining of resources are having an impact on us, hopefully more and more people do understand it, and they do start realizing what the environmental cost is. Be it's like, and especially in a country like India, I mean, there is nothing like an environmental cost. Even our laws are very, liberal against all of that. But the time is going to come. Everybody is going to have to realize. What I really feel is that the government also should play a very important role in this. And in India, making laws is one thing, and then enforcing it is another. So we may have a plastic ban, we may have an XYZ ban, but after that, I mean, a couple of days of um, uh, enforcement, and then after that everything sort of disappears. So I think the government also will have to take a very active step over there. One ray of hope also that I see is that, I don't know if you guys remember, earlier, if you went to a hypermarket or a shopping market where you're buying your normal goods from, they'd give you a complimentary plastic bag. I mean, that was the system. So when that sort of transitioned and they brought in these fabric bags or non-woven fabric bags, I mean, again, that was again a complimentary bag. But when you went to the finally, you went to the fabric bags. So I think they were charging you some 12 rupees for the smaller bag and then the 18 rupees for the bigger bag. So keeping that factor in mind, initially, yes, it created a lot of problems that, how can we pay for our bag? And, it's so expensive, 12 rupees, 18 rupees. Even people like me would sort of feel 4 years back that what the hell, I mean, 18 rupees you are charging for that. But in today's time, I mean, I will obviously try to, carry my own bag and, take it along with me. But taking the statistics from a very renowned shopping mall in Trivandrum, Lulu, I was talking to their hypermarket team. So they said only, I think, 2% of the customers bring back their bags. And the rest, 98% of the population is, sort of purchasing those bags from them on an everyday basis. So I think 4,000 to 5,000 bags is what they do on a daily basis in terms of sales. This is just one hypermarket. And he said you would be surprised nobody asks anymore. It just became a part of that, it's non-negotiable. You have to do this, otherwise you carry your stuff in your hand and you go. And that option is there. Now you have the cart with you, you put everything in there. Some people opt for that also. When I don't have a bag, I'll put it in the cart and take it. But not every place has this facility where, you have a escalator where you can take your groceries down with you on a nice ramp. So I just feel it's just a matter of time. And more push from the government side. They really took out all these plastic bags and the non-woven fabric bags, and then finally you came to a fabric bag, and now everybody is bearing it because the environment cannot bear that cost anymore. So it's fine. I think that shows us that, there can be a change that can be brought into the population. And I'm sure like Bangalore is a far more, I think in Bangalore, it must be happening on a much bigger scale. If it can happen here in Kerala, I mean, the metros are obviously a much bigger game altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, Shreyas and I were discussing, I think, day before yesterday, that how come, like, we can't even imagine how lush green this city would have been, that to survive today as well. And, to give the say, I think we feel cool here in Bangalore. We still wear jackets. But, like, if this is the situation now, like, can we imagine what was Bangalore 100 years before? And what have we done to this place?
10 years, not even
Even
100.
10 years.
Yeah, it's
10
very
years.
deep thinking.
No, I think, but this example is, you know, I think I also haven't like reflected on it, but this has become very common. I think this gives a lot of hope for like other initiatives to scale as well. True, true.
And the way we look at this is also sustainability when it comes to is more on a, social angle as well, where people try to involve too many complexities in making it look like sustainable. But I think what I can understand from your conversation is you brought it to a very narrow level. Try to perfect that piece, and then let's see if we can scale this up on a bigger scale. So I have this question that you went to a lot of iteration, a lot of struggle. Okay, now you had a good support from the family, and I think sustainability requires a lot of experimentation in general to get to a solution. As you rightly mentioned, that the technology is merely 2 years old compared to traditionally 50 years. So when we take this business approach in sustainability, what do you think the differences uh, in businesses could be? One being backed by investors, like like what should be rather what should be the focus of the company at the very first stage should be? Should it be you know product, or should it be first product revenue? Like how do you look at the challenge of growing business into sustainability than to a traditional uh, industries?
So, Ketul, I'll answer it in two parts. First of all, who are your investors and what are they looking for?
Yeah.
I'm sure nobody is going to put in money just like that, but they would have a clear vision. They would want to hear the entrepreneur's vision also beforehand. And obviously, you as an entrepreneur are also going to choose. I mean, not always that you can choose who your investor is going to be, but
Yeah.
you would have a fair idea about who that person is. And
Correct.
especially when it's angel investment, they're investing, they're betting more on the entrepreneur spirit that is
Right.
really going out there. The second part of it, that product or revenue, if you don't have a product, you don't have revenue at all. So I mean, product is the first thing that precedes everything that comes in. And on a lot of occasions, see, like I gave you that example where I was getting the sort of crack on my edge and all of that. So my mentor just told me, go back. And he said, then it's your choice whether you want to flood the market with something like this, or you want to go back and improvise. And it took me just maybe 15 days to sort of get over that problem. But I think if you have a great product, I mean, there is a market out there. Maybe it just takes you some time to find that market. Now, for example, we are also exploring the export market in a good way. But yeah, to get the certification to get into export, every region has its own certification, identifying partners over there. I mean, I'm not saying that it takes a very long time, but it's not as easy as selling in the domestic market. Yeah, once you get used to it, then fair enough. I mean, you can do it in a shorter period of time. So export also sort of takes its own sweet time. And really identifying people, we have two more people coming in from North America next month. So one of them I'm meeting in Delhi on the 7th, and the other one he's going to be here to visit the factory itself. So just try and get an idea from them about what does the market look like, and how much time is it going to take for us to scale to that level where I can say that I can send you one container or two containers of this. So even that is a time taking process. So I think all of these things you have to wait it out a little, and that is always going to be there. But yeah, don't forget the product. Don't forget the product. I mean, moral of the story.
Yeah, like focus on getting it right, and the world will eventually fall in place. I think,
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like uh, this is a very good conversation to have, and it's very interesting for us as well to do this conversation because you know we talk to a lot of founders, and everyone is unique in that sense. And what we have started to understand is like sustainability put into with business, I think is the way to scale. And probably uh, if government puts in more efforts into scaling sustainable businesses, I think it would be faster for us to get to probably something called net zero life, yeah, in near future.
That's
So
true. And that's, I think, a good thought also. But yeah, I mean, preserving the planet is one thing, but you need to get paid along with it. So
Yeah.
that is one key takeaway from all of this. And one big reason why I have a lot of respect for Elon Musk. I mean, there are a lot of things why he's infamous for, but let me talk about one of the good things that came. He believed in such things where it would have been frowned upon back in the day. People would have called you an absolute weirdo, that he just is a mad person. But he believed in something like this at that point of time. And when we as startup founders are going to pitch, even at this point of time, we get so much of resentment that this is not going to work. And he did this around 14 or 15 years ago. So I mean, I really hold a lot of respect for him in that sense, because I mean, although he was in the US, but still, I mean, it does take a lot to build on a business like this. uh, Also, one more thing that I would give as a key takeaway. So uh, when I came to Trivandrum in 2020, I did not have many hobbies here. So there is a horse riding club here, there is a golf course here, and then I found something online, which is the surfing club. So naturally, I wanted something more adrenaline driven. So I joined the surfing club. Now I started surfing now, and learned a little, and slowly and steadily started moving forward. But what really happens on the in the sea is that you have these two waves. One is the whitewash, which seems a little foamy, and the other one is the green wave, which is like this lifting wave. So you initially learn on the whitewash, and that's comparatively an easier wave. And then once you start surfing on that, it's good fun. But again, it's just whitewash, and you just being pushed by the water. That's it. That's all that's happening. And you start standing on the board, and people really applaud that fact, because there are not many surfers around. But you start being applauded for it, and you start enjoying that. But a time comes when you have to go onto the green wave, and that day you have to change your board. It's a shorter board that you have to use. And when you go on that shorter board, you'll almost look like a beginner, because you have to start from scratch. The placing of your foot, uh, the whole way that you're going to maneuver the board, it takes time to really get into that. So you're back to square one. But yeah, the moment you take a green wave and you survive it, I mean, there's no feeling like that. That's the same thing with entrepreneurship. you know that comfort zone, yeah, it's a great place to be in, and it's a comfortable place. But once you're out there doing something different, and then you're on top of your game, I mean, the view from there is completely different. So I would just leave you guys with that thought, and for anybody to sort of understand. I mean, I love the green wave now. I mean, and today morning, unfortunately, the sea was a little calmer, so I could only get two or three of them. But I don't really enjoy the whitewash anymore.
Yeah. Uh, I remember one of Elon Musk's quote was somebody asked him like, why did you start SpaceX, or why did you split your money into SpaceX and Tesla when you know if anything wouldn't work out, you'll fail, right? So he said that uh, if you knew something is important, okay, you think that, and you knew it's gonna fail, but you must try. You know, if there's always 100% certainty, but it's important to do. So yeah.
Riding green wave can be addictive.
You guys should.
Yep, yep. No, I think this is like just last one thing. So I always wonder, like, compared to other manufacturing companies, right? Like, there is sustainability faces this one issue, which is trust and transparency, right? Which is essentially zero in other sorts of like markets. Um, are you planning to kind of keep Qudrat manufacturing facility open to consumers to kind of come and see, or is it even possibility? I don't know. I have this curiosity. I ask other uh, founders also, but yeah, just want to understand if that's the case.
See, I mean, as an individual, I would love for everyone to
Hmm.
come and visit that place. But again, since you are a manufacturer, you have to keep certain things into account, that there is
Mhm.
certain amount of IP that is there.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
is
yeah,
certain amount
certainly.
of it's a business that you are creating a commodity inside. So keeping that factor in mind, I mean, I would love to be as transparent as possible, um, as
Yeah, of course,
as
of
much as
course.
there can be. But again, I think probably inviting the whole world inside will create a, the solution to the problem is, I think, bigger than the problem. So make people, for an
Hmm.
educative purpose, just show
Yeah.
them what goes where, this happens, that thing. But now if somebody is sitting there and he's filming out the whole thing, that
Yeah. Those are the issues, right?
uh,
Manufacturing
a
especially
grain
is
went in and a
critical.
plate came out, and then sir, can you explain that process again, and then let me take you in high definition now. So I think those things
No,
can
no,
be a
no.
little this thing, because I mean, again, there's IP and all of that
Hmm.
involved.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I think those things make sense. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and
uh,
probably uh, you know uh, one thing that Rishabh also talked about is to try and see if it works out for you, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
that's
our next goal is to, hammer the product and see how well it does in composting. So, I think we can see proofs in how we exhibit the product in daily lives and in general. But,
hmm.
yeah. I think that's so. Yeah, Rishabh, I think we had a very good conversation. We had a chance to look into your whole journey of how did it all started, what are the challenges you faced then. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the few times where we were able to connect it so well, on the lines of why sustainable business should be hand in hand to you know probably
I
scale
think
it
we
more
should
faster.
credit that to United.
Yeah,
United
and the fact that we are
business
all
for a
United
very
fans. Yeah, that's pretty rare. So, and secondary, we are also developing, you know, s- a marketplace, not to say a marketplace, but a partners ecosystem where, you know, entrepreneurs and sustainable businesses can interact with the community, can test out their product, also kind of have the visibility to the individual customers and consumers as well. So we'll definitely reach out to you for
Hmm.
more feedback and
anything. I mean,
yeah,
I'm happy to help in whatever way possible if I can. So I'll take it. No issue, Kettle.
yeah. And yeah, thanks Rishabh for taking this time. I know you weren't feeling 100%, but we felt your energy today.